In the last few hundred years, humans have changed the Earth more than any other species in history. More than 1,500 species have already disappeared forever because of humans. Each of these species had its own story, its own place in nature. One of the most famous among them is the dodo bird story, a gentle, harmless creature that trusted humans and paid the ultimate price for it. This story starts around 25 to 30 million years ago. Southeast Asia and nearby island region, and this is the dodo's closest living relative, the Nicobar pigeon. These are strong flying pigeons living in Southeast Asia and nearby regions, and like many birds, they often flew long distances to find better places to eat, nest, and raise their young. And when storms, changing climate, food shortages, or overcrowding affected their old homes, and due to all these reasons, some of these birds began flying farther, across the Indian Ocean. And this journey took them over hundreds of years, through many generations, moving step by step from Southeast Asia to island after island, and finally reaching Mauritius, where the ancestors of the dodo found something they had never seen before in their long journey: a perfectly safe paradise. An island with many gentle and harmless animals, such as giant tortoises and small harmless lizards and geckos living on trees and rocks, gentle land birds like parrots and pigeons, insects pollinating flowers, and soft-shelled turtles near rivers. And all these animals lived without fear, because at that time, Mauritius had no dangerous animals. No snakes, no wild cats, no large predators. Thick forests full of fruit, clean rivers with fresh water, and safe ground for nesting. So for these flying pigeons, for them, this place felt like heaven. And when they finally settled on Mauritius, they truly began enjoying a safe and peaceful life. Now they did not need to run, fly far, or fear death. And this was when their real transformation started. Because in Mauritius, food was everywhere, and they mainly ate fallen fruits from forest trees. They became well-fed and healthy. And they have spent thousands of years on that island. And by the time their bodies began to change, becoming heavier, broader, and more rounded, with stronger legs to carry their increasing weight and smaller wings that were used less and less each year. And even their mouth also got bigger because they used to eat a lot. And as time passed, these birds started storing more fat in their bodies, and now they stopped to build strong or hidden nests like most birds, and instead they laid their egg directly on the ground, sometimes on leaves or soft soil in quiet forest areas. And even without nests, the parents still cared deeply, with one parent staying near the egg while the other searched for food, and they took turns guarding it. And a normal day looked like eat, sleep, and staying with the group, and raise their young again. After thousands of years, generation after generation, they became more bulky in size, reaching around 20 kilograms, and now they became the actual dodo.
Over time, these traits became common, making their wings weaker and heavier bodies, their chest muscles smaller, and their bones heavier, until they completely lost the ability to fly. And since they never had to fight for food, territory, or survival, they never developed sharp claws. At the same time, they became very calm, curious, friendly, and if something moved, they would walk even closer and look, instead of running or hiding, because they trusted everything. But the sad truth is that this peaceful life made them unprepared for violence, and this calm existence continued for hundreds of thousands of years, possibly even over a million years, which is longer than human civilization itself. showing that the dodo lived successfully and happily for ages before everything changed. After a very long time, the dodo transformed from a strong flying pigeon into a large, slow, ground-living bird.
After millions of years of peaceful life, the dodo and other native animals on Mauritius began to face change in the late 1500s and early 1600s. European sailors from the Netherlands, Portugal, and later France and Britain were crossing the Indian Ocean, seeking faster trade routes to Asia, especially to reach India, Indonesia, and China for valuable goods such as spices, silk, tea, and precious stones. Long sea journeys often lasted many months. Sailors suffered hunger, disease, storms, and lack of fresh water. So they desperately needed safe islands where they could stop, repair damaged ships, collect wood, refill water, and find fresh food. While sailing between Africa and Asia, they noticed Mauritius, a green island rising from the ocean, surrounded by calm lagoons and protected bays, a perfect natural harbor. In 1598, Dutch sailors landed there and claimed it, naming it after their prince. And they soon realized the island's value as a resting station because it had rivers, forests, fertile land, and many easy-to-catch animals. At first, ships stayed for weeks or months before continuing long journeys. During these stops, sailors explored the forests and beaches and soon discovered a strange, large, flightless bird that immediately attracted their attention more than other animals. Unlike bats, reptiles, or small birds that hid or flew away, the dodo walked slowly, showed no fear, making it the easiest animal to catch on the island. For hungry sailors who had eaten dry biscuits and salted meat for months, this gentle bird looked like a walking meal. They began to catch dodos, sometimes with nets, sometimes by hand. Whenever they reached the island, they cooked and ate the birds together in groups. One dodo could feed an entire crew, and the bird quickly became a cheap, convenient source of food.
They did this repeatedly for years, and every time sailors arrived on the island, they hunted the dodo regularly because getting food from there had become cheap and convenient for them. And they began to rely on it as an easy source of fresh meat. So they would kill the dodo without much effort, sometimes even brutally according to their needs, without realizing that this constant hunting was slowly pushing the species toward extinction. Because long sea voyages were so difficult and dangerous, sailors also kept live food supplies aboard, pigs and goats to be eaten later, chickens for eggs, and cats to control ship rats. Rats arrived accidentally, hiding in food barrels and wooden structures. When ships stopped at Mauritius, sailors often released some animals deliberately so they could roam, find food, and multiply, creating a natural food store for future ships. After foreign animals such as rats, pigs, monkeys, dogs, and cats were released, Mauritius's peaceful balance began to collapse. At first, few noticed because these new animals had no natural enemies and their numbers rose rapidly. Rats searched the ground for food and easily found dodo eggs lying openly on the forest floor. Pigs used their strong noses to dig up nests, crush eggs, and kill chicks. Dogs hunted adult birds, and cats killed young animals and small birds. Dodos had never faced such dangers, so they could not protect eggs, hide young, or fight back. Year after year, fewer chicks reached adulthood and more nests were destroyed. Meanwhile, the introduced animals competed for fruits, seeds, and plants that dodos depended on. Pigs and goats damaged young trees and vegetation, reducing the island's food supply. As forests were cut down and damaged, safe nesting places disappeared. Water sources polluted, and the island grew noisier and more crowded. What had once been a calm paradise became dangerous and stressful, and within just a few decades, the dodo population fell sharply. Their young were no longer surviving, their homes were no longer safe, and their world was no longer peaceful, showing how the arrival of foreign animals was a silent disaster that destroyed the dodo's future long before people realized what was happening. While humans continued hunting adults and cutting trees, and because dodos could not fly, fight, or adapt quickly, their numbers dropped very fast. And within only a few decades, their population collapsed. Until around 1681, the last dodo died quietly. Dodos are extinct within 70 years from its discovery and ending the species forever.
Throughout human history, many beautiful and unique species have disappeared forever because of hunting, habitat destruction, pollution, and among the most famous examples are these: the passenger pigeon, hunted to extinction by 1914, the woolly mammoth, driven to extinction partly by human hunting and climate change, the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, of Australia, hunted until the last one died in 1936, the great auk, a large flightless seabird hunted for meat and feathers, the quagga, a zebra-like animal hunted into extinction in the 1800s, the Steller's sea cow, killed by sailors within 27 years of its discovery, the moa birds of New Zealand, hunted by early humans, and the golden toad of Costa Rica, lost due to climate change and habitat loss. And besides these, thousands of plants, insects, fish, birds, and small animals have vanished silently without names or records, showing that human activity has been one of the biggest causes of extinction on Earth. I think if we don't have the power to produce anything in nature, then we don't have the right to destroy.